All right. We're going to be looking at carbon atoms as they move through actual physical locations on our planet. And we're going to be thinking about this from the standpoint of um, biogeochemical cycles. And this ultimately ends up affecting living organisms. And we're going to look at this in more detail when we talk about climate change. Um, for today, though, we're just going to kind of focus on where carbon can be found and how it moves from one physical location on Earth to another physical location on Earth. So we're going to kind of imagine ourselves, and this is going to be something that you'll do individually. You know, imagine yourself as an atom of carbon that's moving through the carbon cycle. So you're going to move from place to place in the Earth's surfaces, or on the planet. And there are a few different places that you can be. You could be in the atmosphere as a part of a molecule of carbon dioxide or other gases. You could be in plants or animals as organic carbon, part of a living organism. You could be in the soil as carbon that is part of another molecule, maybe organic from like a dead or decaying organism, or maybe inorganic carbon, like calcium carbonate. You could be in the ocean, either at the top part of the ocean or way down deep in the ocean, or you could be stored in the Earth's crust as a fossil fuel. Okay, and this document has pages that represent all of those places. So there's a page that represents the atmosphere, a page that represents plants, a page that represents animals, soil, the surface ocean, deep ocean, and fossil fuels. And what you're going to do is pick a place to start. It doesn't matter where you start. The stations are set up in the back of the room, so just pick a spot to start. And then you can either use your Chromebook to roll a die. There's a so I'm going to change this actually. You can start anywhere by the time you see this, and will look a little bit different. So you can start anywhere and then just roll a die. And this website here can let you roll a die, and you just make sure that the six-sided die is selected, and then just press roll. We also have physical dice in the classroom that you can use. And I'm not going to roll this every time I need to. I'm just going to pretend that I'm rolling it so that you can see what it would look like. All right. Um, and then wherever you start, you're going to mark that down on a data sheet. And I have a blank copy of a data sheet here that you could annotate on your Chromebook if you want, or you can just make a copy on a separate sheet of paper, which is what I would do. So let's say that you started in soil. So you'd write that your first location is soil. And then from the soil station, you would roll a die. And let's say that you roll a 2. So that means if you roll a 2, that means that you go to plants. So your next station is going to be plants. So you'd write that in your data sheet. And then you roll the dice again. And this time, let's say from plants, you rolled a 5. So if you roll a 5, you're still in plants. You've actually moved, maybe. Maybe you were in the tree's trunk or roots or leaves or something, but now you're in the tree's branches. But you're still in plants. So if you roll the same place where you are, instead of starting a new line and adding a new location, you just add a tally mark. So I have an extra stay in plants. And then let's say I roll again. Let's say I get another stay in plants. Let's say I get a 2 this time. So I end up in the tree's trunk. So I'm going to add another tick mark to my plants. And then let's say I roll again. And this time I get eaten by an animal. So I roll a 3. So now I'm going to go to the animals page. So I'm going to write in my data sheet that I ended up going to animals. And then let's say I roll, let's say I roll a bunch of times to stay in animals. I either get a one or a six. Let's say I roll a one or sorry, a one or a four. Let's say I roll a one and then I roll a four and then I roll another four and then I roll another four, which is not super likely to get that combo, but let's say that I did. So when I rolled the one, I stay in animals. When I roll the four, I stay in animals. Another four, I stay in animals. And another four, I stay in animals. And then finally, I roll a a five, and I go to the atmosphere. So then I'd go up to my data sheet and I'd roll atmosphere. And your goal is to roll enough times that you see soil at least three times on your list, and plants three times on your list, and atmosphere three times on your list, and surface ocean and deep ocean and fossil fuels on your list three times as well. So ideally, you'd visit each place three times. And Mr. Hart can make the call about whether you should keep going or whether you're going to move on to the next step of the activity at a certain point. And the idea is that we want to make sure that you have enough data to really get a chance to see a pattern. But if you end up taking all period just rolling dice, that's probably more data than you actually need. So Mr. Hart will be the one who can kind of direct traffic there and make sure that you get as much data as you need so that you're ready to move on to the last step of the activity for today.